Hey guys, welcome on another episode of Appetite for Collectibles. On today's feature that we always do called Hey, I Was in Star Wars, I have the Jedi Knight herself, the traitor herself, Barriss Offee, aka Nalini Krishna. How are you, my friend?
I am very well. Thank you so much. I love the introduction. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that we finally got to do this. I know
Yes.
that we are in two different time zone and we were able to finally get it together, but it's pretty amazing to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry the delay has been on my part, so forgive me, but I'm glad that I'm here now. So I'm looking forward to having a chat.
So, how's everything going on with you? I know like we're hitting anniversaries for all the prequel kids, and that must be very exciting for you, especially, we're having it's going to be the 25-year anniversary of the Phantom Menace this year. I know it'll be
Mhm.
the anniversary as well for the Attack of the Clones next year, plus on top of the 25-year anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. So, how's prequel life for you?
I have to say that Star Wars has actually been a life changer for me. Like, I actually never thought there was a fandom, world from Star Wars and traveling and conventions and interviews. I just didn't expect that. I just thought it was really just a job, and didn't realize how much of a fan base that it has. So life has been great. I mean, I've traveled to many places doing shows from Europe, around Australia, United States. I've even been to Japan. Like, I just would never have done this had I have not been in the actual film. So life has been pretty great. Like, it's been very consistent for me for 20 years. I did this like 20 years ago. It's a long time. So,
Yeah.
like, I did not think that 20 years later I would still have fans and people would still be making action figures. And, these characters now, 20 years later, they're finally talking about what's happening to her. I mean, they've really grown her presence and her character, online through through the anime series. So, I think it's fascinating to watch and to be on the journey with her.
Now, I've always asked this to any of the celebs that I've been able, fortunate enough to be able to interview. But when you first had gotten the call to be part of Star Wars, were you one that already had seen the original trilogy and you kind of had a background knowledge of what Star Wars was slowly leading up to?
Yeah, I actually watched the first three on TV. So it wasn't something that I was around for when they first released them, but like as they came out on TV, I would watch them. So, I was familiar with Star Wars. I was familiar with every sort of off branch they had, like the Ewok Adventures, all of that. Like, I was very comfortable with that. But I have to be honest, when the first one came out before Attack of the Clones, before they decided to do the trilogy, I hadn't watched it because, everyone had grown up. They weren't really watching Star Wars at that point, and
Hmm.
it was sort of, there's a different kind of audience watching it now. So until I knew I was in the film, I actually didn't really watch episode one until then, because I thought, oh, I probably should prep to understand what's going on and, understand what's going on in the galaxy. So I did that. But yes, I do know the history, and I always enjoyed watching Star Wars as a child.
So, if you had to pick from the original trilogy, what was your favorite movie?
I actually, I don't know if I actually have a specific favorite. I think all of them had, they all sort of brought something different to the table. But the one, I mean, there was a character I was very, very sort of focused on. I'm not saying that, any of the movies were specifically my favorite, but I was always very fascinated with Darth Vader because no one really knew who he was. He was very mysterious. So,
Mhm.
any part of the three that I watched, I thought he was just this, I don't even want to say magnanimous. I mean, I couldn't even explain the character, but he was very, when you command presence in the room, when you walk in the room, when he'd walk in, I'd be like, who is this? And I was very sort of interested in knowing who he was. So anything that had Darth Vader in it from the original three, I was interested in.
Okay. So I was able to do some like background check and like, find out more about you. And I love the fact that you're from Australia because I love that Australia, I have gotten to meet a lot of Star Wars fans in this community, and a lot of them have been from Australia. And
Right.
they're just like the nicest people I've ever met. And, you know, in Australia, I was, like in the US, it was a really big thing when it came to Star Wars. Was it like that over there?
I mean, there are fans of Star Wars, but I mean, you've got to look at things in perspective. I mean, we have like not even a tenth of the population in Australia compared to America. So, the fandom is not going to be the same there. Is there a fan base? Yes, there is, but it's never going to be on the scale like the United States or Europe or anything like that. But there are people, everyone was very excited when the movie came out. I mean, people were going to watch it. People who had loved Star Wars for years, or, and they heard that George Lucas was doing, the episode 1, 2, and 3. I think that did draw a lot of attraction from people, but people were also very interested because it was filmed in Australia and there's a lot of Australian talent in there. So, people were going to watch it just because maybe their friends were in it, or, an actor was in it, and so forth. And, it was just exciting because it was being filmed locally. So, definitely people were very happy about that. And yeah, Australian people, we're great. Everyone's very nice and, down to earth. And it was great filming with a lot of other Aussie actors, but I also filmed a lot of American actors too, who I thought were fantastic.
Now, you've been acting since you were 18 years old, correct?
Yeah, I actually joined a modeling agency
That's
initially.
okay.
So I was modeling more so than acting. I really wasn't doing any acting at all. And then I started to get small bit parts in commercials and, little, bits here and there. And then, then I got the call to come in when I was with my modeling agency for this role. So that's how it came about, was because of the fact that I was modeling, and then I got the role. So it was, yeah, very
So
exciting.
where exactly were you when you got the phone call?
I think I honestly don't remember if I was at home or not at the time, but I know that I had a very good relationship with my agent at the time. And she actually called me and said, "Oh, they want to see you. Lucasfilms wants to see you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." No one knew why. It wasn't an audition. And so I was like, okay, this is unusual. And so I literally went in and they were fitting me out for my character. They'd already decided I was going to play her. They didn't audition me for anything. I didn't go to any casting, not even like a modeling casting or anything like that. And I literally turned up and they're measuring me and I'm thinking, what are they doing? Like, normally you know what the project is, right? You know what it's
Yeah.
for, who you're playing, what you're expected to do. But there was none of that. No one was communicating that to me. And then I saw sketches of my character. And they're looking at the sketch and they're referencing the sketch. And I said, "Are you fitting me out for this character?" And they said, "Yes, you're playing this character." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, but I think everything was very kind of secretive. Like, people weren't sharing who was doing what, on set. So, for a smaller part like mine, I guess they really didn't need to tell me like too much about the character. She was in The Approaching Storm, so people knew her from that, but there wasn't much being said. So, I remember this gentleman was on set. He was interviewing the actors, and he interviewed me, and I said, "I don't know anything about my character," because, like, honestly, they do not tell you. Like, they're very, very particular about how much they share. So I
Yeah.
said, I can't really tell you anything because I myself don't really know. And a lot of people didn't know who she was at the time. Her character sort of built really just before and well after the fact, after the filming was done.
Now, seeing how much Barriss Offee is loved by, the Star Wars community, did you ever think that it was going to take off as much as it did?
Honestly, I didn't. I did not know. I actually didn't even know the magnitude of what the Star Wars world, like, what it was about, until someone called me and said, "I would like to do an interview." This was before episode 2 came out. And I said, "Okay, no worries." I didn't know what you could and couldn't do. And then I had Lucasfilms call me and I said, "I would like it if you didn't do the interview until the movie was released." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, Lucasfilms is calling me, telling me not to do an interview directly." And I thought, okay, all right. So then the magnitude of how big this is really came to light. Okay, this is big. But it wasn't until I went to my first show, and me and Mary went to a celebration, and then I remember being at a party and this guy kept looking at me and he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm doing your imagery. I'm doing, I'm drawing your face because we're making an action figure of you." And I was like, "Oh, wow!" Like again, did not know what to expect, and then it started to really dawn on me that this is actually quite big. People, do this for a living, like all the time. They travel all the time, and when I lived in England, I would travel around Europe all the time with this, and it was the most amazing experience. But I did not know it was going to become this big. I didn't know my life was going to change. That I could do this regularly, even 20 years later. If you had have told me that, I wouldn't have believed you, and I had no idea what to expect. But it was a nice surprise, put it that way.
Yeah. And it's funny, I had went to a toy show like about a month ago, and it was funny, I actually got to see the figure that they had made of your character. It's like the Power of the Force character. I think it's like a 12-inch doll.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And I saw that and I was just laughing because I was like, wow, I've never seen it in person. I was like, and I finally get to see it. I've always looked for it online and always found it, but then like to actually see it in person, it's great to hear, like when you guys, when, the celebs in Star Wars are saying their stories about somebody sketching them out to be a figure. Cause it's going to be made into production and, boys and girls are going to be holding that and they're going to keep it forever. And it's just super cool because you're on an action figure.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I looked at one of the books, the two books that were written of her character, and I looked at the book and I thought, oh my goodness, that actually really looks like me. But like it's interesting. I mean, I know the 12-inch you're talking about. I actually have it, and I remember them releasing it, and they released it in like in like with the brown eyes, and then they made a correction because my character had blue eyes, so then they released it with the blue eyes. And then I actually saw the smaller ones, and they released it with the green lightsaber, but in fact I had a blue lightsaber, so they corrected that too. So watching that was quite interesting. But I've got the Lego, I've got the miniature, I've got whenever I can find it, and it's usually at conventions, I will buy it because you just don't know when it's going to be available because it's so hard to find.
Yeah.
Like once she's out on the market, like it gets sold out very quickly.
Yeah, I know her Lego figure, the mini figure is worth more than the actual Lego that it came with, which is funny because it's funny. I went through like a rabbit hole one year where I was like diving deep into Lego figures and I was reading that like sometimes the mini figures are worth more than the actual Lego itself because of the rarity behind them. So it's like your character was one of them that it's very rare to find that in a Lego set. So if you actually obtained it, it was a rare item to have.
Yeah, I did not even know that. That's interesting. That's actually very interesting. But I have one, so I'm very, very grateful that I actually was able to get one. But
you got to put it like in a casing.
Oh, we have a little kind of like setup on the actual bookshelf where we've set it up, but it's actually on the wall as well. So I mean, we have everything there, and every time something new goes, then we actually get it. Like I actually found these on Etsy. I don't know if you can see, but there's someone selling on Etsy my character, and I've got an earring. I asked her if she could make more, but she kind of didn't have the time. And so you can see Bariss. I don't know if you can see it, Bariss. I'll take it off.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I thought I'd wear it for the interview, but like this here, like you find little things here and there of the character. I've actually even got someone was making tattoos that you can put on your face of Barriss Offee. So let me just.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it.
It's cute, isn't it? Yeah. And then the lightsaber is actually on the other side as well.
I'll be honest with you. You're talking about like the stencil. So when I try to cosplay your character, I actually drew those little squares individually into my face. And I'm sitting there counting how many were on like the left and on the right. Yeah. And I was like with a ruler symmetrically trying to put them on my face. And then when I saw on Etsy that somebody sold the actual stencils, I was like, I could have.
You could have got that, but that's what they did with me too. They actually did they literally hand drew it. Like there was no stencil. She literally did the whole hand drawing, and she was great at it because you have to be so asymmetrical. But she was actually, she was pretty good, but it was hand drawn. So if you were doing it that way, that's definitely the accurate way to do it. But you're right, I got the stencil as well. I even actually got a face mask during COVID. They had someone was actually someone came out with one. I was like, oh my goodness, can we can we get one made? And I actually have a few, with the tattoos. So
Yeah, I actually had the oh, I love it. That's so pretty.
thank you.
Yeah, talking about the face mask, I actually had like a Darth Vader one.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was
nice.
like walking around with a Darth Vader mask and people were just staring at me and I was like, "Listen, if we're wearing masks, I'm going to wear a cool one."
Yeah, my mother-in-law actually made a really nice one of Star Wars, like the Star Wars characters, and people asked me where I got it from, and I was like, "Oh, you have to get it made." But I think auctioned one off as well, and sent it to a fan as part of an interview I did,
Oh, wow.
during COVID. So I think they really appreciate it because it was very unique. Like I hadn't seen anything like that before.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So I had seen online that in 2017, and we just discussed this, that you were inducted as an honorary member of the Galactic Academy for Tatooine. How did that come to be? Like, how that sounds super exciting to wear like a badge of honor like that.
You know what? They always surprise me. No one tells me we actually are doing this. We'd like to give you a formal invite. I think it was actually at a convention when that happened, and they said we're going to do this, and I was like, okay, how can I say no? I'm going to be an honorary member. So that whole, I mean, the fact that they want to induct me and they want to have me included in that is just it's priceless. What can I say? Like it's an amazing experience. I feel very flattered that they've actually done that. And I've been inducted into a few different ones, and I just really like it. And I like the procession that they have afterwards when they do it. It's really an experience. But most of all, I think it's great because I'm happy to make my fans, happy when I do that. But the whole process is it just shows how serious everyone takes it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal to like the community members that
Yes.
they want to give you a real, like a badge of honor and like induct you into something that's super cool for them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I am always like, I'm very, yeah, let's do it. I will never say no if someone's wanting to induct me in. And I'm very grateful that they do it. And I keep them all too. Everything they give me as part of being a member, I keep it all. It's a treasure for me. So I have it from, several years of stuff, and I even remember when I was going through stuff when I moved from Australia and going through all my stuff, from home. I was like, wow, I have this and I have this badge and I have that. And there was just stuff that I hadn't seen for so long. And it was so great to actually see. And my husband was very excited about it too, because he's a big Star Wars fan. So yeah, so
Oh, he must feel cool. He's like, yeah, my wife was Barriss Offee. Like,
yeah, I think he likes to use that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like anybody who has a significant other who is part of the Star Wars acting community, like their significant other has to feel somewhat, even if like they have kids too. Cause I asked the same question, to Amy, Alan, and Michonne, and they told me the same thing. Like their kids, they find it to be the coolest thing that their mothers, were part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Um, like Chris Bartlett was telling us as well, like his daughters thinks it's great.
Yeah.
So, I think that's awesome that like your significant others are just alone your family members,
Mm.
wear that with a proud badge of honor that, their child or, spouse or mother is part of that significant film that,
Mm.
changed a lot of people's lives. I'm one of them. I happen to be one of those people that Star Wars changed my life. And it's
Yeah.
one of the main reasons why I love it as a whole and, why I'm
Yeah.
part of this community.
Yeah, that's great. That's actually really great to hear. Again, I love it seeing people who are very, very, very enthusiastic about Star Wars. Honestly, none of the films would be anything without fans. Like it is, people like yourself and people that take it very seriously. They take it to another level. I think that if you didn't have that, Star Wars would be just like another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was rewatching the films the other day and I remember like I kept pausing on different stills when I kept seeing your character. So
Yeah.
like the part where you guys are sitting down, well, it was you and Luminara were standing up and you guys were listening to a conversation that was being had between the Jedi Council with Emperor, Palpatine.
Yeah.
Um how was it like just being in that whole entire room with just like that cast of, actors? You had Samuel L. Jackson, you had Ian McDermott, you had a couple times Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, just like being a part of that little community? Like, were you geeking out as well?
So, in answer to your question, it was very interesting because I think it was the first time I had actually, it was my claim to fame in terms of really working with famous people that you only see in films, So I didn't get to work with Hayden Christensen. I saw Ewan McGregor on set, but I never worked with him. I think that we crossed paths and kind of exchanged a hello, and that was it. But it was Samuel Jackson that I actually saw before filming, and he was so down to earth. I was so shocked. It was like, wow, he's amazing. He was fantastic. And even on set, he was so incredibly approachable. And I remember, I think Mary Oyaya, I think she had a party actually while we were, filming over a course of like several weeks. And he actually turned up to the party. And I was going to go and I didn't on that day. I didn't go, but he turned up. Like, he's such a down to earth person. But I met Natalie Portman, Ahmed Best, Samuel Jackson, obviously Luke, George Lucas, and then, a couple of other like mainstream actors, but they were very down to earth and really nice people. And there was no drama or attitude or ego, just very nice people to work with.
Speaking about George Lucas, how was that experience? Because anybody I've spoken to, they've always said it's like one of those like, ooh, it's George Lucas. Like,
you know what? It's really interesting. I'll tell you a story. Like, on set, he's so nice, such a down to earth person. You'd never know that he did a big $1 billion like film trilogy, and this universe he's created of Star Wars, because he's that down to earth. But I remember he actually threw a party for all the actors. I think it was the actors and cast after we wrapped up, and I remember he came in and nobody would go near him. No one would go near him. And he's quite short, and he had this big bodyguard. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go over and say hello, because if I don't say hello, then it's going to be very awkward. He's going to be walking around. No one's going to talk to him. So I went up and I talked to him and said hello. And then everyone started to say hello, because I think people have a level of intimidation.
yeah.
Like think, oh, it's George Lucas. I don't want to go up and talk to him, but he is incredibly down to earth, very nice. He's just like, normal guy. You would never think anything different. And everything about his personality reflects how great a man he is, and me approaching him, no question, just had a casual conversation, incredibly nice. And then everyone else felt very comfortable. And I think by the end of the night, no one was, sort of keeping their distance. I thought, great guy, he'll have a chat with anybody. So that's my experience with him. And, I wish all directors and, people who made films were like that. But he's probably one of the best ones I've worked with.
That's so awesome to hear, because like for us, he's the maker. He's the maker. So like for me, like if I were to ever meet George Lucas, I don't even know how I would be able to contain myself. I would have to breathe like very hard, because like I've met, I have met Mark Hamill. I've met, like I've met Hayden. I've met Ewan McGregor, and like, it's shaky. And I've always told myself, like, if I ever met like Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau or George Lucas, it would be one of those, like, you're meeting one of the creators of something that was passionately made for the fans. So, just to hear, like all the actors, when they always say that meeting George Lucas is like super chill and he's down to earth, it brings a great sense of clarity, because he's not a bad guy. He actually is a genuine director to work with. So it's nice to hear that.
Yeah, definitely genuine, incredibly down to earth. And I don't think that he really works with people that have an ego, or I think he selects his actors very well, because he wants to work with people who are like-minded and have the same work ethic, kind, people. And he's very gentle. He's a gentle soul, and it was a pleasure to work with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, were you able to did you ever get to watch the Clone Wars to see like how Barriss's character continued?
I haven't watched all of it, but I have watched a lot of my scenes. I know I know that there's been a lot of questions about what happened to her, because we know she betrayed Ahsoka. We know, somehow she became evil. And no one really kind of knows how that transitioned. I mean, everyone will make an excuse and say, well, she thinks she was doing what was right. But I was quite surprised that they actually turned her, because she was, she was very much for the cause, couldn't do anything wrong. She was she was a healer. She had amazing powers. She followed her master. So it just seemed very strange that they turned her character. But there's been a big question mark about what really happened to her. And I think we're going to find out on May the 4th what truly happened to her. But, the suspicion has been confirmed that, we obviously she's turning into, an inquisitor. So, yeah.
Now, did you watch the trailer for Tales of the Empire?
Yes, many, many times. And I said to my husband, it's giving me goosebumps. It's giving me goosebumps, like literally. Like I can't wait. We are not doing anything on that day. We're simply watching it. Like it looks amazing.
I know. I was at work, and I work for a medical practice, and my phone was just like beeping, beeping, beeping. And I have a really good friend of mine who constantly, like, if a Star Wars trailer drops, he like immediately is messaging me, and he's like, "Hey, you got to check this out." And all I thought was him going, "Oh my God," and like spelled OMG with like 1,000 G's. Yeah. And then I was like, "What?" And he sends me the link. And I was like, "What? Tales of the Empire?" So, I go in my office, I close the door. I didn't want no one to see me. And like, I turn up the surround sound to the computer. And next thing you know, I hear, I think it's like the sixth sister or the second sister or the fourth.
The fourth sister.
The fourth sister.
I can't remember one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. The fourth sister, she says, like Barriss Offee. And I was like, oh. Yeah. And then when they show her silhouette, I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
I know.
And, the internet lost it because no one knew. The last time we knew of her, she got into a full lightsaber battle with Anakin.
Yes.
And, we thought she was dead.
Yeah. I mean, no one knew. I mean, I think they just sent her off and she was imprisoned for life. But
yeah,
it's got this opportunity, like I just love that it's been kept secret. No one knew this coming. Same
no one knew
the Grogu was coming and a baby Yoda. This is a great thing about how Disney does it. Is just they surprise you, like when
which is funny because because it was funny because when Tales of the Jedi came out, I know fans were saying like, oh, if you're doing something about the Jedi, you need to do something about the Sith. You need to balance the Force out, and you need to talk about the good and the evil.
Yeah,
but then. For the title to be Tales of the Empire, you're really getting a full depth of what's happening. And the one thing that I found very interesting, well, two things that I had found very interesting in that trailer was that, when the chief, I guess, says, now meet your new master, and you see Darth Vader walking, my question is like, Darth Vader, even though he's still Anakin deep inside, and this is probably a couple months, maybe a year after what happened with Revenge of the Sith, is Barriss Offee gonna look up? Is he gonna recognize her and immediately be upset, or is he gonna properly train her? They show in the battle that they throw a lightsaber in the middle of the ground and tell two people that they have to battle each other. And, did they capture Luminara? Is she going to be fighting Luminara in this scene? Is she going to have to make that choice? Like either join the Inquisitors, but you have to, sacrifice one thing, and that's killing your master.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope it wouldn't come to that. I mean, we also don't know what happens with Luminari, but I guess that's the question. They leave it very open-ended. I mean, even like there was a bit where she bowed down, and then Darth Vader's coming in, and the question in her face when I kept watching her, it's like you couldn't quite read how she was feeling, and I think they did that deliberately because was she impressed? Was she was she surprised? Did
she feel his presence and know that that's Anakin?
Exactly. And the way that they showed that in the clip, you're like, okay, now you want to know what's happening in that one scene. So the way they've done it is just amazing, how they're really drawing you in because you want to know, you want to know what happened. But but just the different scenes, like it looks like it's gonna be action packed. So I can't wait. Like I really cannot wait. I am so excited.
I know it's coming out at 3 in the morning, my time zone, Eastern Standard. And I actually had made sure that I dedicated all May 4th, that Saturday, to, that morning. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna watch it. I think it's like 6 episodes. So I'm gonna watch all 6 episodes, and I'm not leaving my house until I watch it. Because I can't just watch like one episode and then go about my day with my friends and go and enjoy May the 4th. I have to find out like where Barriss has been, like what is next.
Exactly.
If given, if they ever ask you to reprise your role again as a live action Barriss, would you hop on the opportunity immediately?
Oh, of course I would. Of course I would. But the question is, Inquisitors don't look the same as Jedis. They look very different. They look very, very different. So the question is, what will she look like at the end? Will she look anything like Bariss? But of course, I would love to reprise the role. I would definitely do it in a heartbeat, but again, I want to see what, if she's evolving as a character, how does she really look, once she's involved as well? Inquisitors look very, very different.
Yeah.
So I want to see, does she even look anything like me? I think that they're going to, develop all of that and work all of that out, as the actual character develops. But I'm just grateful that they're finally giving the answers that the fans want, and that they're telling the fans what happened to her, because no one knew for the longest time. No one knew. So now, okay, we're getting the answers we want.
If you had a choice, being that you played the live action version of Barriss, and Barriss was able to redeem herself, would you had gone back and tried to finish redeem whatever type of relationship you had with the Jedis? Or do you think that maybe, what she was significantly saying in the Clone Wars, that the Jedis are the ones who are causing all this problem, would you have left the temple just exactly how Ahsoka did and just basically carried on your own?
I actually, that's a tough question, because, she's always, she was always very closely knit, with the Jedi. So it's hard for me to say, would she have, tried to go back and, try and get back in there and go, you know what, I made a mistake. Let's start over. I just don't see her doing that. Mm-hmm. But I certainly don't think that, the other extreme was that she went rogue, and she became evil and really did things she probably shouldn't have done. So I would say that leaving the temple like Ahsoka and actually starting on going on her own is where I really expected her to be, because she was a very strong character, and she really could have done that. She didn't have to do the 360, and go to the dark side, but that was her option. But for me, I'd probably do what Ahsoka did.
Would have left the Jedi temple.
Yeah. Because, we know that things weren't as they were meant to be, and you see how powerful Ahsoka is, and Barriss Offee is just as powerful, if not more.
Yeah. If not more. Yeah, that definitely would have been a fun, like today was the 4-year anniversary of the Phantom Apprentice, which is the one of the top 5 best lightsaber fights that I've ever seen in animation, which was between Ahsoka and Maul. And I feel like if we would have had a full powerful Ahsoka versus a full powerful Barriss Offee, I don't think that fight would have went well. I think it would have been very intense and a lot of, like basically how you saw Obi-Wan fight against Anakin. I think it would have been one of those type of duels.
I'm not really sure that either of them would have survived.
No.
Honestly, I don't think they have.
Now, I know that you're doing the con circuits. I know that I'm going to be meeting you face to face in Texas at the end of June.
Very excited.
What is one of the most interesting things that you have probably signed from one of the fans in the cons?
It's so hard to say, because I've signed so many interesting things. I've signed like the most amazing posters. I've signed, the most amazing lightsabers. I've signed the most amazing, stormtrooper helmets. It's really hard to say if there's one thing, because every time someone creates something, amazing, they'll bring it over and they'll sign it. But it's always like something that's a prop. I say signing props is very interesting because, you might be signing something that's round and looks like a helmet, or a lightsaber, which is not the easiest to sign.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that that's been often the most fascinating. Like when someone creates it themselves and then they present it to you to sign, I think that's fascinating because someone's, worked on that themselves, their workmanship, and then they, present it for people to sign, and it's unique. You've never seen it before. That's probably been the most interesting thing that I've actually signed before.
And have you had people come up to you like fully dress up like Barriss Offee?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have, and I've taken photos of people. I have people, sending me images or tagging me, and I just think it's amazing. Honestly, the amount of makeup and the amount of time it takes to get that character doesn't look complex.
No, it
But
was
it
not.
is complex. Like it took them 5-6 hours to dress me every day. So it's not like a 2-minute job. So everyone who does that is putting a lot of effort into that, and I always appreciate it. So if I see a fan doing that, I'll always stop to take a photo with them and keep those photos.
Yeah, I'll be quite honest with you. When I was doing the makeup just to get the base of the color on, it was a lot of dabbing and blending and trying to make sure, and like looking at photos, looking at side,
Yeah,
seeing like how symmetrical it looked, trying to get me to that color. It was just, I kept just like dabbing it on. And it took me like a good just 2 hours alone because I did my whole face, I did the neck, I did my hands.
yeah,
So, and that was just me like doing it not rushed, but like, trying to do it as fast as I possibly could because I was
yeah,
worried about time.
yeah,
But yeah, what got to me was the stencil. So I have so much appreciation for anybody who does cosplaying because it's a very tough thing to do.
it is. And so then you see people who are dressed up as, Shakti or, Ayla Secura. I mean, theirs is very complex. Even, Illuminari and Julie, like those are more complex, characters. And I have such a great appreciation for people who make that effort. Honestly, you need to be a very patient, creative person that loves that to do it, because it takes so much time and effort to do it too. But the result is amazing. People look amazing when they've done it. So kudos to those people. And I've had people say to me, why don't you dress up and do that? I'm thinking, if I do that, it's going to be a long journey for me. I've never done it before except for on set. So
Yeah. You
but
would have to hire somebody like to airbrush you
oh yeah,
to make the process even go quicker. And then you can
yeah.
airbrush the stencil.
Exactly, exactly. And I think people are there to see you as an actor, not necessarily to see you in your costume. So I've
Yeah.
never done it, but I think one day I'm going to, just to appreciate what my fans do and people do cosplay, just to appreciate what they do, because then, it kind of makes it a bit more real that, oh my goodness, this is a journey that you go on to, I'm reliving the making of that character.
So, if you had been given if you could give any advice to anybody who is getting into acting and they want to fulfill basically like the dream that you have, what advice would you give anybody who is trying to get into acting?
Acting is a journey. They say success is a journey, not just a destination. Acting is not a short-term journey. It is a lifetime journey. And it takes a long time. And many people are not, they're not A-list actors. And, many may actually never make it to the A-list if that's what they want. Personally, I was just happy to do modeling and to do bit parts. I was very happy with that. I wasn't, looking to be like in the next, blockbuster film or anything like that. In fact, I like, behind the camera more so. But if they want to do it, it's a journey. They need to invest in themselves. They need to be unique, make sure that they've worked on their self-esteem, because it can be a very grueling, tough industry to be in. Um, they need to make sure they're doing continuous lessons. They're also networking, networking with the right directors, casting directors, the right producers, and staying consistent and being out there. But it's just one of those industries that, if you're going to do it, make sure you have probably another skill that you can do on the side, whether you're doing a remote job, working from home, or I wouldn't recommend waitressing, because then that doesn't really pay the bills. But, you want to have something that's set up that can help you get by, that allows you the ability to do auditions during the day.
Yeah.
So you want to think that financial aspect through too, like if you're going to be an actor. And then also have the right mindset. Do not give up. It could be a 10-year journey. It could be a 15-year journey. It could be a 20-year journey. I mean, I've worked in theater and I've loved it, like the most amazing experience. Theater is just, a great way to build skill. It's live, really can't make too many errors in there. There's, certain type of skill that you're building from that. So try and sort of expand your skills. You don't have to always just do film and TV. You can do theater, you can do many different things. So I just say, get as much experience as you can, be authentic, and make sure that you've worked out the financial aspect, and stay consistent and don't give up. Don't expect that you're going to have success potentially in like 5 years. It may take longer. So if you're in it for the long haul, then, just continue, because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you aren't in it, you're never going to get the opportunity. And sometimes it may take that last opportunity. I mean, many actors have spoken about that, haven't they? They've said,
Yeah.
oh, no, I was going to leave. I think Ryan Gosling even said that I was going to leave, or some actor was telling his mom, I'm about to leave. It's not working for me. And he got called for an actual audition. His mom just said, just do one more. He did it. He got the part. Now he's famous. So you just don't know. You have to keep giving it a shot, and you have to keep making the effort.
That was beautifully said. I like
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Now, I know that you're going to be hitting the convention scene soon. So I know for a fact you have Rebel Scum in June. Is there any other conventions that you're going to be doing that, anybody who's going to be watching this will be able to be like, ooh, I'm going to be there. I can meet her.
I'm actually waiting to hear about one in Mexico, but I haven't heard back about that yet. But no, I mean, I did Rhode Island Comic Con last year, and I'm doing this one, but I don't have anything else set as of yet. I think that I'll probably get a bit more, when, after May the 4th.
Yeah.
But I don't do them sort of like monthly or anything like that. I probably would like to do another one or two for the year. And then that will probably be enough. I think one every 3-4 months is good. So
yeah.
But I would also love to go to Europe. I mean, I am potentially doing one in Spain next year.
Oh, wow.
So we just want to finalize the dates in probably February, March. So yeah, I'm really wanting to do Spain. It's been a long time since I did a Spanish show, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
So the people are amazing. The culture's amazing. The food's amazing. Everything's amazing. So I may be doing one there and potentially another one in Europe, but I'm waiting to hear back.
Well, like I said, I'm fangirling right now. I'm so happy that I was able to get you on. When I started this journey of wanting to do podcasting and like talk to Star Wars actors, I told myself constantly, like, you're doing an interview, but at the same time, like, I'm fangirling deep down inside. And, like, you responding back was, it means a lot. And
No,
I
you're
say
welcome.
this to everyone. It means a lot.
You're so welcome. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this point, but better late than never, right? So
Yeah.
I appreciate that we did this. Like, I've had a lot of fun chatting to you. I think you're amazing. And please continue doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
If you need help getting any actors in, I can always have, put in a word for you. So
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. But like I said, I'm excited to meet you in June. We're definitely going to have a really good time. I'm excited to meet a whole bunch of people there. I was talking to the guys who are organizing this, and it's really cool that I love that they have a combination of different people at this con. It's, voice actors, it's stunt doubles, a combination of, actors from the prequels. You got people from the shows. So it's nice to see different groups, but they're all based off the same Star Wars community coming together. And it's awesome because you'll get to, I feel like the actors themselves are going to be able to meet some of the people that they also are fans of. So it's like a great way of like social networking with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot go to a show without there being some level of partying going on. I can assure you that. And they're always meeting new actors. And, every time they bring out a new, Star Wars film or project or show or whatever it might be, there's always someone new to meet, and it's such a growing community of not just actors, but also fans and, cast crew. Like, just, it's an amazing community. So, I in Rhode Island, I think for the first time I'd met Carl Weathers. Sad, but he was so lovely. And I met Chris Bartlett. He was lovely. I saw people I hadn't seen for years. And it's a great experience, just, because you're there united by this one thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I always tell everybody. I think it's fascinating when you get to become friends with people that you guys have the same common interests, but then later on, once you get to know each other, like deep down inside, you'll get to see that you have other things in common as well, just
Yes.
outside of Star Wars. But it's that one thing that unites you together,
Yeah.
and what brings a bond together. So, if
Yeah.
it wasn't for Star Wars, I wouldn't have most of the friends that I have now.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because, like, I mean, the ladies I filmed with, I mean, I keep in touch with them. I've seen them over the years. I saw Mary last year in November. I hadn't seen her for a long time. I keep in touch with Orly. I speak to the girls occasionally. Amy Allen, I spoke to her recently. Michonne, I hadn't seen her for years. So it'd be great to do another show with her. Just so many of them. Like, it's amazing to have that connection.
Yeah.
And it's a lifelong connection. So
Yeah, it's a lifelong connection. Even, 50 years from now, people are still going to be talking about Star Wars because it's something amazing. And like, they'll always talk about every different character, and everybody will always be inspired by a different character, even if it's, the bottom of the characters or, the top tier ones. There's something about each and every character that has inspired these fans to say, like, that's my favorite Jedi or that's my favorite Sith.
Yeah, exactly. I think they really did. I mean, George Lucas really did start, like, he really did start almost like a phenomenon. Like, he honestly did.
Yeah.
Like, just who would have thought that this would be the case? And who would have thought it would be going on like 40, 50 years later? It's just amazing, like, that it is continuous. I don't think there's any film I've ever seen that has this continuation. There's longevity. Never
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah. You've got fans from 4-year-olds to 80-year-olds.
Yes.
And it's awesome because, I probably do not have something in common with an 80-year-old, but because I have seen Star Wars and I love Star Wars, we have something in common, and we can
Yes.
have these conversations, and it only will be about Star Wars. But then later on, we'll find out something that we do have in common, and that's what unifies it all together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's created a community, like,
Yeah.
a great bond. So, and you feel that when you go to these conventions because everyone's got that same interest, So I always enjoy shows. Honestly, I've never been to a show where I've not enjoyed it. Honestly, it's just been the most amazing experience every time. It's unique every time too.
Yeah, I like that. Well, for anybody who's going to be watching, they're wanting to know, where can we find you? If you have a significant page that you're mostly, more frequent on, is it Instagram, Facebook?
Instagram is actually, I do actually use that a lot. I probably don't use Facebook so much, but if you went to Facebook and you saw Nalini Krishna, I mean, I'm on there. But if they wanted to, say, follow me or say hello, say good day, Jedi Nalini is my main Star Wars page. Like, the Instagram handle's Jedi Nalini.
Okay, yeah,
I do
I'll
have
put it down
another one.
below.
And the other one is the real Nalini Krishna, the real Nalini Krishna. I mean, I don't have as many followers on that, but honestly, if it's Star Wars, I usually typically do more posting on Jedi Nalini.
Okay.
So please, I mean, yes, definitely they can find, more details about me on that particular handle.
Well, it was an honor having you on. I absolutely had a great time just asking you all these questions and like diving deep into, your iconic character that we're going to see in the next couple of weeks, become what everybody has been waiting for. And, I'm definitely going to be messaging you to see how your reaction is after you've watched it, to see like how you feel about it. And, I just can't wait for the fandom to, people writing you and tagging you and like, being in shock about how your character is coming out to be. So
yeah. Please reach out. You're welcome to at any time. I've been talking on Instagram, so please feel free to reach out. But yeah, there'll be a lot to be talking about after that.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to expect, but I am very excited about it. So, you know, it's been a journey, and it's going to be a more interesting journey now, you know? So, yeah.
I can't wait.
I know, likewise.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This was definitely a great episode to record. And I will be putting all the descriptions of where you can find Nalini, what con she's going to be at in June in Texas. You guys definitely are going to want to come meet everybody, especially her. And if you like she said herself, if you have any questions, want to comment on what's to come for Tales of the Empire, you can follow her on Instagram and just send her messages along. But again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and may the force be with you. I'll see you guys soon with my next guest. Thank you.
Thank you. May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.